Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the MCM game stage. Woo! I'll do that. So, welcome to our 3 p.m. session. We've got Steve and Ollie here, who are indie devs, and they're going to teach you how to be an indie dev. So, Steve, Ollie, the stage is yours. Welcome, chaps.
Good afternoon. We on?
I think so.
After you.
Yeah, welcome. Thank you for coming. We are both indie game developers. So this is Ollie Clarke at Ollie Clarke. I am at Kumotion UK. We'll talk about some of the stuff we do as we go through the talk. But we wanted to come and help inspire people to be the next generation of indie game developers. Are any of you here already making games? Yeah, a few hands up. I can barely see through the bright lights, but a few of you got your hands up. Great. Those of you who aren't, don't be scared. We'll go through some of the ways. If you're interested in becoming an indie game developer, there's never been a more exciting time. We'll go through some of the reasons why in a second. But first of all, let's a little bit about how Ollie and I know each other. Click. So we work together. We created a shared workspace called the Arch Creatives. Ollie, tell us a bit more about the Arch Creatives.
So essentially, Arch Creatives is a games co-working space. Thank you. And what you can see here is actually what it looks like inside, and what you have is tables, chairs, broadband, and a place where we can all hang out. At the moment we've got 3 game teams in there, and we did look at setting up a studio, but then there's massive overheads in that. But we actually wanted a space where we could hang out and share ideas and solve problems together and support each other in game development. And that's how Arch Creatives was born, and our community is about 150 at the moment, and we've got room for about 25 at any one time. Anything to add?
I don't think so, no. I think what we found is indie game development, one of the things you'll learn if you start on the journey, it can be quite lonely because you spend a lot of time on your own in your bedroom making your games, and anything you can do to become part of a wider community is really helpful. Sharing ideas, bouncing your ideas off each other, and getting help when you get stuck, and having a space to do this all together in one room makes it an amazing journey. So the first step, and it sounds like an obvious one, to becoming an indie game developer is you just need to make a game. And it doesn't need to be a good game. This is the mistake people make. They all fret and worry about making their very first game and how I'm going to make this amazing thing. No, start by making some rubbish games. Yep, learn your craft. Make something, see that you're not proud of it, and get it out again. We'll go through some of the process of coming up with game ideas and those kind of things later on. But the most important thing, if you've got any interest in becoming an indie game developer, is you must make a game. Because without that, you're not an indie game developer. Thank you. But now is the best time, I believe, there's ever been to become an indie game developer for loads and loads of reasons, but 2 big ones. So the first one, and we'll go through this in a bit more detail in a second, is there are some amazing tools. How many people here are programmers? Good, a few. So having programming skills is great. It gives you a massive advantage. You can actually start to get in and start making games happen. But if you know nothing about writing code, nowadays it actually doesn't matter. You can start making games without any knowledge of code. You can actually go on a really nice journey and start getting content created and learn your craft as you go along. You do not need this daunting list of code, and some of that comes down to the amazing tools that are available, most of which are available for you to start using for free, so you don't need to spend loads of money to do it either. And the second reason it's never been a better time is the most important thing about making games is to have them played by lots of different people. And there's never been a better time to get those games in front of people. Whether you're making a PC game and getting it out through millions of people through Steam, whether you're making a mobile game and getting it out to millions upon millions of people through mobile games, there's never been a better time. You can get these games onto stores and download it into people's hands and see people playing your games easier than it's ever been before. So it's an exciting time. Anything to add to that, Ollie?
Yeah, I think absolutely right. When I started making games around 11 years ago, there were huge checklists of things that you had to do to get right to make your assets and get them in the game and get people able to play with them. If any one of those 100 things went wrong, then your game would crash and people wouldn't be able to play it. These days, you don't have to worry about that nearly as much. The tools are a lot more robust, a lot more accessible, and quite often free to download. And we'll go over a couple in a moment. Click. So what do you need? What engines should you be looking at? There are, luckily, now actually quite a few engines that are free to download. And tools-wise, for the game I'm currently working on and Steve's currently working on, we're both using Unity, which, if you're not aware, is a free game engine which you can download for free right now. Now, if your game makes £100,000, then you have to pay for it, but if you're making £100,000 out of your game, I think you'll be quite happy to pay the £1,000 on top of that. That means that you'll still be able to carry on using Unity. It's a great engine, very accessible, It has a wide variety of tools and plugins available, which are very easy to pick up and use, and there's a great community around it. I'll go over that a little bit more in a moment, but you also have Construct 2, and when you're looking to make a game experience, think about the kind of experience that you're looking to make. If it's more like a 2D experience, or you want to have it running in a browser, then have it in Construct. Or if you're looking for a full 3D experience, like an RPG, I wouldn't recommend starting with an RPG game, but if it's a 3D action game, Unity is a very good fit. RPG Maker is another engine that you can make role-playing games with very quickly and very easily, which I think hopefully a lot of you guys are interested in making. Do you want to add to anything?
Yeah,
to that?
so I can see lots of different age groups of people here and probably different skill sets. So exactly as Ollie said, if you're really young and you want to start making games, you can. There's a tool called Scratch. You can get it on the internet, it's free, and you don't need any programming skills. You can start making stuff for the first game. Construct 2 is really nice to start. Unity is much more of a kind of general tool for people who really want to make professional quality games. And if you're interested in like specific genres, if you spend a bit of time on Google, you can actually find game engines which require no programming skills to have all the foundations you need to can get you up and running. So for example, RPG Maker is a great way of getting started if you wanted to make a role-playing game. It's got all of the kit, all of the engine beneath it, and all you can do is put the kit and parts together, choose the game experience you want to do, work out the stories you want to tell, and create your game experience without worrying about learning any complicated tools. It can be really easy. But game engine is just part of the tool set that you need. If you're going to be a game developer, it's all very well getting the game up and running, we also want it to look great, so thank you.
Okay, going on to, again, depends what kind of game you want to make. If you want to make a 2D game, let's say Angry Birds, then you're going to need to be looking at 2D tools. Photoshop is still the de facto package for making 2D assets. And fortunately, these days, you can do monthly subscriptions, which are very cheap, and mean that you don't have to pay out £1,000 or even £600 just to get up and going. You can say it's just £8 a month for Photoshop, and you can try it out and you can learn it. And they're also supported by a great range of online tutorials through YouTube and forums and other places, which mean you can learn from it, learn how to use it at the same time. And there are also free packages like Paint.net and various other ones, which they use the same principles. Personally, I'd recommend learning Photoshop because everyone knows how to use it, and you'll find that you can get the most support from it. You'll find the tutorials easier to understand and get to grips with, and start actually making your assets for your games, which is exactly what you want to be doing.
Yeah, the only thing I'd add to that is Ollie's absolutely right. If you want to start using professional tools, you can, and they're cheaper than they've ever been before to do because you can pay for them monthly. But don't worry about that when you first get started, because actually costs, you might think you want to make a game but you're not sure, and investing loads of money in buying expensive tools can be an overhead you could do without. So things like Paint.net or GIMP or loads of these amazing free tools are a great way for you to download something, play around, start working up some art assets without spending a penny on any of it. It's amazing what you can do now for free. And as Ollie also mentioned, 2D is one side of it, but 3D is another side. Ollie knows far more about this than me, so 3D tools, Ollie?
This is where I started in the industry. I started as an animator, but at the time, to be an animator, you had to learn how to model, how to rig, how to skin, how to texture, and those are all different processes. Fortunately, those processes are a lot more automated and a lot easier to get to grips with. I use a program called Maya LT, which if you're not familiar with, is essentially a specialized version of Maya for making game assets with. Don't let the LT fool you. It's a fantastic tool for making game assets with, and the much more expensive version of Maya only has tools that are really only applicable if you're making a high-end movie. Maya LT is very good for making 3D game assets, and in that you want to be learning about how to model, how to box model, and that's basically taking a box and extruding a side of it so you make another set of faces and you make it into the kind of shapes that you see on the screen. You can make characters. In that program you can also do rigging, so once you have your humanoid character, you can rig it up very quickly and easy in Maya. And it's also got a great set of tools for exporting your assets from Maya into game engines. And not just Unity, but also Crytek offering and Unreal Tech. They've also become very accessible at the same time. They've got very cheap plans for renting it monthly, and they're worth having a look at. So when you're making your game, looking at making your game experience, and you're wondering what 3D tools to use, think about the experience that you actually want to create, because that will help tell you what tools you should be using.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, you can download free demos for 30 days of these tools, again, for nothing. So you don't have to go, can I model, do I want to do this? Download it and you can get started, again, without spending any money. The other part of getting started is, if we go again, please.
Gonna click.
thank you, is getting help. And this has never ever been easier. So whether you're trying to learn a 3D modeling tool or a game engine, you can go into Google, into YouTube, put in what help you're looking for, and there's loads of help available. Here's just like one page. I just went in before we were doing this talk and put in Unity tutorials into YouTube, and this is what comes up. If you put in beginner's Unity tutorial, you'll get whole videos of people telling you how to use Unity. So you're part of a community the second you start making a game. And the independent game community, the indie dev community, is really all embracing. We want to see other people making better games than we're making because it makes us raise our game. So that means we'll go out of our way to try and help people, and the whole community is like that. So step one, if you're trying to learn Unity, if you're trying to learn Maya, whatever you're trying to learn, go into YouTube, put in a search, beginner's Unity tutorial. If you want to make a shoot 'em up, put how to make a shoot 'em up in Unity, you'll find videos of people telling you how to do this. What you'll also find is every tool that you choose will have a forum. It'll have a community that exists. One of the reasons Ollie and I are so keen on tools like Construct 2 and Unity and Maya Lite is because they have amazing communities that are there. Thousands and thousands of people are using these tools on a day-to-day basis, which means any problem that you've had, someone else has always also had. So you can go in, you can say, right, I'm stuck, how am I doing this? And someone will jump in and help you out. So these communities are there to help you. Don't worry about being a noob. We've all been noobs once. All go in and kind of read the forums, follow their guidance, but ask the questions you need to ask, and people will come to your aid and will help you out. Click. Ollie?
Practice and patience. I've met many talented people over the years who could have made some amazing games, but they gave up. They gave up because they didn't have the persistence. It's a marathon. It's keeping going day after day. For example, Unity, there are a set of videos out there by Tornado Twins, and they're a fantastic set of videos, but they're long. I spent a day just going through those videos to start with. Learned so much, but it was long. It was a long time, and that's having that persistence to go through it and then do it again. And once you feel like you've got a handle on the application itself, whatever engine you're using, it's trying something out and accepting it's not going to work for the first time and saying, okay, it's not going to work, but I'm going to learn from it, and the next time I do it, it'll be that much better. It's usually about 50% as good, again, as what you created the first time, so keep going. It's definitely worth persevering. In the long term, it's very rewarding.
Absolutely, but if you can't be bothered to do any of that, then cheat. This is an interesting thing. So if you're making a game and you want to make your own, a really great commercial product, you're going to want to create all your own assets and stuff. But the brilliant thing about a lot of the tools that are out there is they come with their own asset stores. So you'll find things like this. This is just, again, pretty much the first thing that came up when I looked on the Unity asset store. But you can buy anything on that store. Some of it's available for free, so people create loads of animations, models, anything that you need to make your game, and it's there for free. And other people are professional developers, and they make this stuff and they sell it. But you'll see, here's a whole village interiors kit available for just $40, so you can buy stuff really quickly and cheaply. So if what you're doing is just kind of testing the water and trying to find out if you like making games, and you can't model, you're still trying to learn the tools, go in and just buy some stuff. You can use it, someone described it to me earlier as like Lego, where you just go and buy all the stuff you need, push it together, and you can start making stuff and seeing stuff appear. I've seen people make games that are getting loads of kind of critical press and loads of excitement, and in their earliest days, what they were effectively using was some of the free parts that are available straight out of the box from Unity, and they were making stuff that people were really impressed with, and that's because they're using their imagination, and it's the gameplay that's clever rather than all the technology that underpins it. And that's what the great thing about the modern tools lets you do, is it frees you and it frees your imagination to create what you want to create. And this is kind of available not just on Unity, on all the stores. So if you're looking at using something like Game Maker, you can get asset packs of all the different styles of characters you'd need just to help you. So all you need to worry about is what's the experience you're crafting. You can get this stuff, and it's a great way of getting yourself up and running. So people call it cheating. For me, it's a great way of starting to learn. You'll also find a lot of the games come with tutorial games where they have whole games that you can download, and you can just start changing values and assets and stuff and start to make the game your own. Again. But one of the hardest parts of making a game is coming up with the right idea. This is the bit lots of people seem to struggle with. For me, the right idea doesn't exist. It's just an idea. Hopefully something you're passionate about, something you really want to make. That will make the single biggest difference. And also when you're just starting out, make it small. Try and make a game that you can make in about 2 weeks. rather than 2 years. So many people we know say, I'm making a game. You go, great, is it finished yet? No. Is it finished yet? No. And 4 years down the line, they're still making it. Most of those guys never finish a game. Remember slide point 1? Become an indie dev by making a game. So make a small game that you can make in a day or a week or 2 weeks, because by making something, at least you can feel a sense of accomplishment. Yep. So that's, for me, the right idea, something you care about and something you can make quickly early on, and you can start making longer and longer games once you've got the skills. Anything to add to that, Ollie?
No, I totally agree with those points. It is about, it's not just about the idea. Everyone has ideas. It's about making a game, getting something done. It's not trying to do that 5-year RPG straight away. I think that's a great thing to aspire to, and you can totally disagree with us and go for it, and we can be completely wrong. But for us, certainly from my experience, has been making a little game, just learning how the whole process works, from the concept to the production to finishing a game to getting it out to talking to people about it. That is a whole raft of areas that you can learn from and get experience from and become that much of a better game maker rather than spending 5 years on just one game.
So, Ollie, how did you come up with the idea for LA Cops? That's your current game. So what inspired you to make this game?
Yeah, so this is LA Cops. This is a game we're making at the moment. Essentially, it's a top-down shooter. It's in full 3D, and you can rotate the camera, zoom in and out, pick up weapons, shoot the bad guys. For me, it's something that I've wanted to do for a very long time. I love top-down shooters. I come from the old days of the Amiga and Commodore 64, and I felt those games still had a lot of merit to them, that they are a lot of fun, and I felt that there were people out there that I could make it for, and they would enjoy it. If I work hard enough and I listened to them, then we could make a game that they actually wanted to play.
Okay, yeah, thanks. And in a similar vein, like when we set out to make our current game, if you ever want to play either of Ollie's games, we've actually got a little space over there called Indigo, Go Indie Games, and we've got about 10 independent games. You can actually see the variety that different people are making, and that's one of the things I love. If you look at my game, it looks very different to Ollie's game. And the reason we made this game is we have a team of 3 of us. We have 1 programmer, 1 artist, and a game designer. Me, the manager, I don't do any of the kind of creative stuff, so I don't count myself in that team, but 3 people. So decision 1, what game could we make with just 1 artist, 1 programmer, 1 designer? It does impact how you can make things. The second one for us is we like to make games that are visually very distinctive, so we like to take things from popular culture and street art and historic cartoons and kind of mash them together in ways that are visually interesting. And the third thing for us is, now we're all a bit older, we don't have time to play long games, so we like to make kind of really short session, kind of almost like toys rather than games, things that people disparagingly refer to as distractions, but that's kind of the stuff we're interested in making. So that's kind of what we set out with this game, and we pulled those 3 things together and created Lumo Deliveries, which, yeah, you can play over there. So, like you see, our games are very different. We're not trying to make the same experiences. We're both using Unity. Unity doesn't denote how your game looks. You can kind of create any kind of experience you want. It's about finding what's right for you. So, point 1 then, remember, start small. Make something that you can finish, because by finishing a game, you do become an indie game developer rather than someone who's talking about becoming an indie game developer. The minute you made 1 game, no one can then say you're not an indie dev. You are, because you've made a game.
Yeah, it's one of the very first game I made as part of Modern Dream was a game called The Cat That Got the Milk about 2 years ago as an indie developer, and it was inspired by going to the Tate Modern and seeing all the pictures in there. I was thinking, well, there's all these paintings here that should be inspiring games. Why aren't we doing that? I thought, okay, I want to make first one. I want to take one of these images and just work out how to make a cool game out of it. And the game was simply get from one side of the screen to the other, and your character will always be moving along, which is an abstract art-inspired square, and you can only move up and down. Now the catch is there'll be obstacles in the way that you have to avoid. Now we just made that over the course of about 6 months. We had music inspired by Philip Glass, and we took what we loved, much as Steve's team does, and we put it into a game, and we thought we'd put it out, we thought, oh, we'll see what happens. We told the journalists about it, and it just kicked off, and we thought, oh, there's actually people who are actually interested in this. And by making a small game and putting it out there and not expecting it to take off and make millions of dollars, we learned so much from that, and people learned so much about us and what we were doing. And we had a dialogue going between what players actually wanted to play from us, what they actually liked about what we were doing, and also what they didn't like. So it's very, very valuable to start with a small game, get it out there, see what people think, and listen to them, talk with them. It's fun having a dialogue with the people that are playing your games. You'll just go on a journey with them. So the end of the game is not the goal itself, it's the journey that you're going on.
Yeah, and so Ollie kind of makes a really good point here, which is it's all very well making a game, but the reason, I don't know about you guys who are making games, but the reason we make games is because we like seeing people playing what we're making. So that means you need to put the game in the hands of your friends and family and people playing your game, because that will make you a better developer, because you will make mistakes. You will make things that people don't understand. You will do things that people don't enjoy. Make a game, put it in the hands of your friends, and open that dialogue. See when people say, but I don't like that, or I find this too difficult, or I can't understand what I'm supposed to be doing here, and then change your game and make it better. And that's the best thing about the modern industry, is when Ollie and I started making games, we used to make box products. So you work for a big studio, you'd sit in a dark room, you'd make a game, it would go out into the world, and it would either fly or die. And there's nothing you could do about it because it's printed on millions of discs all around the world. Whereas now, you've got a digital game that goes out, and if someone says, I don't like this, you can change it and you can make the game better. So you can start to craft the game experience that your players want to play. So you can bespoke build this game for your audience. And that's so exciting. It's terrifying because you're listening to people going, I don't like your game. But you can do something about it now, and that's great. So the guys who held their hand up and said you make games now, how many of you actually get feedback, hand your game out to people? Let's see a show of hands. How many people do that? So there you go, one. So many people just don't. Seriously, we did this talk on Friday and we had like 20 people said they were making games. Yeah. None of them were getting feedback from players. So do it. It makes a big difference. Even if you're like 10 years old, you make a game, take it in school, get your mates to play it, get feedback, find out, go back the next day with the changes. Anything to add to that, Ollie?
Yeah, I totally agree with everything you said. And in a way, it's rewarding to have someone say, I like this, I didn't like this, and then you go back and say, I know how to make this better, and you take it back to them, and they appreciate that you took the time to make something that you've given them that much better for them. And it makes you happy. It's one of the fun parts of making games, definitely.
Yeah, and that is kind of the most important point, is have fun. We do this because we love games. We don't do this because it'll make us rich. It really doesn't. I earned much more money in previous careers before I moved into the games industry, but I've never had so much fun doing what I'm doing. So enjoy what you do. Make the games you're passionate about, and that's what makes the indie game development scene so exciting, so vibrant.
Absolutely, yeah. It's people can tell when you've made something that you've had fun with. The humor comes out, the life, the vibrancy. They can tell when you haven't enjoyed it. So make sure you're making a game that you love, an experience that you're going to enjoy making. And yes, it will be hard, it will be difficult, it will be challenges. There'll be times when you're awake at night thinking, oh, no one's going to like what I'm doing. But keep going and keep making sure that you're having fun doing it, and definitely show it to other people so that you can get the energy off them from playing the games. It will help fuel you, help keep you going.
Okay, and I think now is your time where you get to ask us any questions you have. We will answer questions on anything. I would keep it about games because it's the only thing that I can say that Ollie and I know anything really about. So if you go out and you want general life advice or anything, we're probably not people for that. But if you want to know anything about games, we can definitely help you. Any questions from anyone? No. Yeah, we have a question at the front.
Got a mic
we're just putting batteries in the microphone because unless you want to really shout loud so we can hear you.
I'll come down.
Brilliant. Thanks, Ollie.
When you actually publish a game, is there a good place to actually like spread it around to people, like to actually sell it on or give it away?
That's probably one of the most insightful questions you can ask. It's actually the hardest part of becoming an independent game developer, is making a game and getting enough people to know about it. So if you're looking at a game for, say, the App Store, the iOS App Store, there's 150 games a day, something like that, hit the App Store. So you're one of 150. So finding your audience and getting them to know about your game is really challenging. For me, there's three things I would definitely do. So the first one is, when you make your game, have a good idea of who you're making your game for. So if you're making a game for yourself, think what makes you that kind of person. So is it because it's a really hard game? Is it because it's a shoot 'em up? What style of game it is? And then find forums and groups of people who like those kind of games and start telling them about making your game early. Bring them on your journey with you. A lot of people in the old days, you'd have your idea for your game, you'd keep it secret until your game was out. And you go, okay, here's my game, and no one knows about it. You can't do that anymore. And the indie scene isn't going to steal your idea because they've got enough ideas of their own. Ideas aren't hard to come up with for games. You can come up with them all at a time. So as soon as you've got an idea for a game, find forums of people talking about stuff that's similar to your game, and then go on and start saying, I'm making a game about that thing. Do you want to be my early testers? Do you want to be the people who want to play the game? And start building that audience and building that word of mouth. So that's number one. The second one for me is about getting the support of the platform holders. So if you're making a game for Steam, make sure Steam know your game's coming to their platform. And in an ideal world, think about the kinds of things they're looking for. So like Steam have got their new Steam box coming out with a new controller. Think about how you're going to use that controller differently to anyone else. They'll be looking for stuff that showcases what they're making. Likewise, if you're making a game for the iPhone, make sure it showcases the iPhone, helps Apple sell iPhones. If your game is super shiny and will help them sell more iPhones, they'll be more interested in giving you featured support. So for example, I've had 2 games as Editor's Choice on the App Store, both in about 72 countries, and that's because the games were doing stuff that was different. It was making their hardware look great, so they wanted to support us. So think about that when you're making a game. Ollie, what other ideas have you got for spreading the word?
Yeah, it's something I mentioned just the other day in the same talk. One nice way to approach it is to say, right, I've made a game, I'm going to go up to 10 people that I think would like the game and see what they think and try and win them over and have a chat with them. So you just aim for those 10 to start with. You get to that, you can get to 100. You get to 100, you can get to 1,000, 10,000, and so on. You can keep building it. So at the beginning, there are no preconceptions about what you're doing, and that's a brilliant place to be. You can really make it what you believe in and what you're passionate about, and then you can find those 10 people and get them to understand what you're trying to get across. Once you've got that 10, nothing can stop you. You can keep building it over a long time. It's a marathon. It's not something that happens overnight. It's hard work. You keep going. You're persistent. When people say, I don't like that, you don't go, oh, I give up. You say, okay, you don't like that. Why don't you like that? I'll make it better. And you come at it again. You keep going.
I think, so one of the things I think Ollie did, I think is really clever. So, first game, Cat Got the Milk. How much did you charge for that game, Ollie?
It was free.
Gave it away. No, any kind of monetization, advertising, or anything like that?
Nope.
Just your next game, The Button Affair?
We did that for Charity Wear for Special Effect to raise money for them.
So you could play the game for free, but made a donation to Special Effects if you wanted to. So it was free. And this is kind of building an audience. So you make something, you give it away. People go, I really like that game. Who made that? Then the next game comes out, you give that away free, they go, wow, these guys are really making great games, I want to look for it, and eventually you'll end up with a great big audience, and then you go, I've now made our super amazing game, here it goes, like LA Cops, and people will then go, well, I'd like to play that because I play for the other games, and they'll buy it. So build your audience over time, and don't be afraid to do something different. No one's worked out that magic of how to spread the word of games yet, and I'm sure there are loads of people here who are clever than we are who do the thing that no one else is doing. You think, I don't understand why people aren't doing this to get their game out to an audience, and you will do it, and you'll find a special way. So that's the magic that we haven't seen yet, is what's the next thing? What's the next thing that's going to spread the word? But yeah, it's hard, and it takes hard work, but spend the time building your audience, engage with them, and build that story over time. Does that answer your question? Good. Okay, any other questions from anyone?
There we go. We've got a few here now. We'll go here first, and we'll work our way down. Do you have a question?
Hi. For a beginner developer, do you think it would be possible to start straight away to a 3D game, or should you start with 2D first?
Well, I think it depends on the skills in your team. So we're a brand new indie startup. We're a team of 3 of us, and my artist Nick, he does 3D and 2D art kind of almost interchangeably. He's trained as an illustrator and then taught himself to use 3D tools. He's been a professional 3D artist for many years, so he can do 2D and 3D absolutely interchangeably. If you've only got 2D skills, I would start doing a game using those 2D skills, because the most important thing is to start making a game. If you find 3D modeling easier, make a game in 3D. The nice thing with the modern tools is it almost doesn't matter whether it's 2D or 3D. Like Unity is a 3D engine from its original evolution. But nowadays there's loads of plugins that help it work really well as a 2D engine. So if you're 3D, Unity's a great tool. But if you're 2D, you can still use it. So it depends on your skills. Most importantly, I would say take the skills you've got and use those to make a game. There's like lots of people who will make games. We did a game a few years ago called Kumo Lumo, and it's a really simple 2D game. It's like a little cloud. It used a sticker bomb art style, and the reason that's 2D is I only had 2D artists in the game team, and we made a game. And again, we had 6 million downloads of that game. It was editor's choice all around the world, and it just but the reason people go, oh, it looks amazing. It's a really interesting art style. The art style came from the skills we had in the team. Does that anything to add to that, Ollie?
Yeah, I think that I totally agree with that. From my own experience, I tried doing code, but I found that I'm just not naturally attuned to that. And I could have kept going and struggling with it. I might have got somewhere, but I found from my experience, speaking from my experience, I'm better when I focus on my strengths, and the people I work with are very talented in their areas, and it's really the measure is in how well we work together. It's about teamwork, and teamworking is very hard. It's because you have to recognize what their strengths aren't, you have to understand what they're trying to get across and where they're coming from, and you have to try and work together. And I think it's very important to stick to your strengths. Find out what you do well and keep doing it well. There's nothing wrong with learning new skills, but if you're making something for someone else, make sure you're giving them the best of you. Quality is so important now. You can't put rubbish out. It has to be of a really high quality to get people's attention, because at this very show, there is so much content waiting for your attention. You want to make sure that you're giving them the very best work that you can give them, and keep trying to improve that.
I think we've got time for... Yeah, sorry.
Yeah, did you have a question?
I just want to find out what kind of computer is best to download all this, Unity and everything onto.
I didn't catch that. Could you put the mic a bit closer?
What platform's best to download Unity onto and to develop games with?
Either. The great thing with Unity is it's a cross-platform tool, so it works equally as well. I think Ollie's teams are using PCs, my team's using Macs, so it works equally well on both, and you can also output onto any platform. So you can work on a Mac and make a game for PC, you can work on a PC and make a game for iPad. It's kind of completely cross-platform, if that's what you're asking. Is that kind of an answer to your question, saying Unity will do all of them?
That's a yes.
Is that a yes?
Yes, it was.
Okay, good.
Right, last question, I think?
Yep,
Okay.
one last question.
Hi, you mentioned about starting small. What about for people who can't think, like to start small, that you've got ideas are just too big? Have you got any advice?
You can always... games are essentially made of features, and those features are often self-contained or modular, and you can always break a game down into, you've got the front end, you've got the shooter mechanic, you've got the discussion mechanic. You can always break it down in that way, and you can say, list out the features of your game and say, these are the most important features, these are the parts we're going to focus on. We want to make this to make our huge idea. However, these features are the most important. You can put those on the top and you can break it down that way. However, I would say there is always a way of making a game smaller. There's always a way of what we call scoping in the industry.
Yeah, I would agree with what Ollie said. I think there's an industry phrase that people use, which is minimum viable product. It gets massively misunderstood. If you're trying to make a game, you should know at the beginning what makes your game great. Yeah, what's the thing that makes my game stand out from the crowd and is the most amazing thing? And I would make that first. Yep, and try and make access to that as fast as possible. So whether you're just having a grey box world that doesn't represent the final amazing environment you're going to end up with, just have some really basic artwork, but let players play the experience you think is going to set it apart, and then get that to people as quickly as possible. So basically what Ollie said, but start by knowing exactly what makes your game great. But the other thing that I would add to everything Ollie and I said is someone will do something that completely contradicts everything we've said and do amazingly.
Flappy Bird.
Yeah, exactly. If someone came to me with and said about 7 years ago, okay, I've got this game and it's made out of these little blocks and it's going to look a little bit like Doom, and it's going to have like this really hot, weird kind of old school art style, but you can make stuff and you can craft things by mixing them together, I would have gone, nah, not interested. No, it won't work. And I think I've been well and truly proven wrong by that. So, we all have opinions, we all have views, and if you think I'm going to make the most big, epic game, and we're saying, don't make it, it'll be too hard. No, if you really want to do it, do it. Go and make your game, but try and start in pieces so you can see progress, even just for your own sanity, rather than working on all various bits of a massive game for years and years and never finishing it. Does that make sense?
Definitely get it in front of players just as quickly as you can, so you get that feedback, and that will give you energy to keep going.
The thing we've found over this weekend is the thing you think's amazing about your game isn't necessarily the thing that everyone else thinks is amazing, and the thing that you think's obvious isn't the thing that's obvious. So having a game like, we've learned so much from being here this weekend and seeing people play our games. We've got loads to go back here and start working on next week. So yeah, make what you think's amazing and put it in front of players and see if they think it's amazing as you, and listen to them. The amount of people have said, it's easy, people go, oh, I think your game should be like this, and it's easy to go, oh, that's not the game I want to make, I'm not going to listen to you. But then you think about it, you think, wow, hang on a second, actually that fixes loads of the problems we've had, and actually it will make the game better. So listen and put your game in front of hands of people as early as possible, no matter how big it's intending to be. And even when you're not happy with it, still get them to play it.
Brilliant. Thank you very much, guys. Can I get a huge round of applause, please, for Steve and Ollie?
Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks for
You can get
listening.
the guys on Twitter at the addresses on the screen, so do take note of them. And thanks for joining us. We'll be back in about 20 minutes with Ultra Street Fighter 4. Thank you very much.
Thanks very much, guys.
Have a good one.